Stay tuned for the news.
World News Today. Brought to you by the Admiral Corporation, makers of Admiral Radio, America's smart set. By shortwave broadcast, direct from important overseas stations, as well as leading news centers of our own country, CBS correspondents are waiting to bring you a complete report from the world's political and battlefronts. But first, here's Doug Edwards.
Leading the news today is the announcement that General Eisenhower has arrived in Britain to take over command of all forces for the invasion. And in French Morocco, Prime Minister Churchill, completely recovered, has conferred with French General de Gaulle. On the war fronts, American troops in Italy have captured Mount Trocchio, the main barrier blocking their way to the fortress of Cassino. The Germans report a break in their lines with the new Russian offensive in the Leningrad area. And in the Pacific, the Allied ground push against the Japanese on New Britain and on New Guinea continues at a slow pace. And now for the news of the fighting in Italy, Admiral Radio takes you overseas to Algiers. Winston Burdett reporting.
The Americans in Italy have captured the last hill barrier between them and the Rapido River. Mount Trocchio, 1,500 feet high, 2 miles this side of Cassino, fell to our troops at nightfall yesterday after a rough 12-hour fight.
This week, our Army bombers continue to soften up Jap bases in the Central Pacific.
In all the world, there's no campaign quite like the present operations of the 7th Army Air Force in the Central Pacific, ceaselessly pounding vital Jap island bases. I'd like to introduce the commanding general of the 7th AAF, Major General Willis H. Hale, just returned to Hickam Field from the bombing front. General, we're most interested in learning of the men who make these tremendous flights.
These men are flying trackless ocean wastes with no landmarks to guide them, navigating to tiny pinpoint targets, bombing their objectives, and returning to their own pinpoint bases. On 50 missions from November 12th through January 7th, they averaged more than 2,400 miles per mission in their pre-invasion bombing of the Gilberts and their present strikes against the Marshalls. We are engaging in continuous operations, and we have many objectives. To reach and destroy them, we must span great distances, often encountering bad weather fronts through tricky cloud formations before we ever get to the Japanese interceptor fighters or anti-aircraft.
Russian troops were declared officially today to have crushed Germany's 16th Field Army. The Soviet forces surrounded the Germans in the Stalia Russa sector 10 days ago. When the Nazi commander refused to surrender, the Red Army attacked. A special high command communique this morning declared laconically that a few days ago, the operations were concluded. And according to the Russians, they were concluded after 12,000 Germans had been killed, 3 divisions shattered, and vast stores of war equipment captured.
The appearance of service personnel on this program does not constitute an endorsement of the armed services, as the armed services do not endorse any product. World News Today is brought to you each Sunday at this hour by the Admiral Corporation, makers of Admiral Radio, America's smart set. Be sure to listen again next Sunday when Admiral brings you World News Today by shortwave, direct from...